Hmm? Yay! Hello, everybody. So we are going to be talking about simplifying Hark the Herald Angels Sing from Sylvia Woods' 50 Christmas carols. So if you're watching this video after it's live, after the time, then make sure that you purchase this book and work through it with me, because it's going to be so much better if you can write everything into the music that you have and make all those decisions about what you're going to simplify. So make sure you've print it out to Hark the Herald. It's on page 36, and then make sure that you have a pencil to write down all your changes. And hello to everybody who's watching this live. I'm so happy to have you with me. So I wanted to start out by playing you the simple version that we're going to be working on today to show you that hopefully you don't think it sounds incomplete. So you can make it this simple, and it will still sound like Hark the Herald Angels Sing. So if you have the music with you, you'll know that that is a lot simpler than the easier version that's written in the book. But it still sounds like Hark the Herald Angels Sing. And the awesome thing about that is then you will be able to put a lot less practice in and still get it ready in time for Christmas. And this will apply to other pieces as well, but I think especially for Christmas time, you don't want to spend months and months and months seeing hardly any progress and feeling the pressure of Christmas coming. Rather practice for a short amount of time, play something really simple, and you can rather learn more pieces and just have fun with it. So make sure that you have your pencil. Oh, I wanted to say something else, that if you have a small harp, play it an octave higher. You can play this whole arrangement just an octave higher, and I won't play the whole thing for you now, but oh, I'm too low there in the left hand. Whatever. So yeah, you just play it an octave higher on a harpsichord or another small harp, and it will fit on your harp perfectly. So as we get started, make sure that you have set your sharps. Have your harp with you so you can try these things out and make the decisions for yourself. So you have F sharps. If your harp doesn't have levers, then I'm going to make a video about how to tune your harp with F sharps. But you want those F sharps. And then we need to number the measures so that we can talk the same language and you'll know which measures I'm referring to. So what I want you to do is you're going to put a little 1 next to the first line, a 5 next to the second line. So this measure is measure 5, and then 9, 13, and 17. Okay, so we're numbering the measures so we can talk about it. I do this with my Skype lessons all the time. Okay, and then we're going to go through it from the very beginning and look at the different options. So you don't have to do exactly what I say. I'm going to give you a few different options and you can make these decisions for yourself. And the aim is to have it so easy that it seems like it's not a big mountain to climb, and that you don't feel like it's very far away from being ready right away. If possible, it's best if you can even sight read it. It's so easy now. Okay, so the first little measure, we're going to also look at fingering. So we have the first 2 notes in the right hand, 3, 1, 1. That's what she has written there. But I like to follow a rule of intervals with fingering, where an interval is the gap between the notes. So a second would be like from our G to our F. They're right next to each other. We'd always play it. Well, this is kind of the rule. You can break it when you need to, but this is what my first teacher taught me. So a second would always be with 1 and 2. A third, so say for example from G to E, would be with 1 and 2 as well. And a fourth, so in this is the case here, 1 on G, 2 on D, that's always with second finger as well. And then a fifth would be with 3 and 1. A sixth would be with 3 and 1. A seventh would be with 4 and 1, and anything bigger than a seventh. So that's kind of what I'm going to be following when I make some changes to the fingering. So I would suggest you put your second finger on that first D. And then when we play the G again here, this is still in measure 1, I would suggest playing that with your second finger there. Okay, because we're no longer within a bracket, and we've got a repeated note, and sometimes it just feels easier to play that repeated note with a single second finger. Okay, and what are we going to do with the left hand in that first measure? What's written is thirds, a G and a B. For some people, that might feel more than easy enough. That's great. You can leave it that way. But I think for a lot of us, just plucking a single note might feel easier. So I would recommend playing just the single G, the lower note. And that's going to sound pretty good. So we've got... And then for the next measure, one of the main things that we want to change here is putting fewer notes in the left hand, because we can't change the melody. Everyone knows what Hark the Herald Angels Sing sounds like, right? So we can't really change that. But what we can do is we can change the left hand as much as we need to. And so that's what we're going to do in this next measure. We're going to take out some of the notes in the left hand. So that's what the right hand is doing. I like the fingering there. The left hand, we're going to play the single G, or you can play both notes if you want to. But I would really recommend you take out that last note in the left hand in measure 2, that F sharp. So it's supposed to go for the next measure. And playing that last note on the last beat of a measure, we sometimes call it a pickup. It's the note that leads you to the next measure. That note is often quite difficult to have ready in time, and it often causes people to pause when they're moving towards the next measure. So I would suggest taking out that note every time it appears in the piece. So it also happens in measure 6. There's notes on the last beat of the measure also in measure 9, measure 11. It happens quite a few times, and I would say just get rid of it because it gives you more time to prepare for the next measure. Okay, so we will have that note removed, and then in measure 3, we want to also simplify the left hand. You could just have a single G for that whole measure, or if you want to, you could play, and that would be with the second finger whenever we have a single note like that. And then you could also put that E in, but I would definitely take out that F sharp. You don't want to have to place 1, 2, 3 on G, F, E. That's too much placing. We want to focus on the right hand, so we can make it as simple as possible. So I would do G, E, or just a single G. So it will sound like this from the second measure. No note. Or even just we don't even really need the second note. And I'm just going to finish this line, and then I'm going to check in that no one has any questions or anything. You must let me know if you want me to clarify anything. You don't really understand what I'm saying, because I do kind of feel like I'm talking to myself. Usually when I do this with my students, I can see on their faces when they're confused and they're like, Christy Lynn, slow down, or can you please explain that again? So you have to let me know in the comments. And if you have an idea on how you would suggest simplifying this, something that I haven't said, then put that in the comments too, and we'll bring it up if it's something I haven't spoken about. Okay. So the other thing is in measure 3, the right hand, I would play those 3 Ds with the second finger. When it's a single notes that aren't connected to anything else, I always played with the second finger. It feels more comfortable for me. And then measure 4, well, leading towards measure 4 with the right hand. So instead of doing 1, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, I would suggest doing 2, 2, 2. And you have time to come off there. So I would come off, and then on that C at the end of measure 3, I would put your first finger there and place 1, 2, 3 on C, B, A, and then do 1, 2, 3, 1. 1, 2, 3, 1. That feels easier to me than 4, 1 there. Okay, and then in the left hand, we could do, just with the second finger, play that D. This is a measure 4, and then the G. And we'll leave out the D that's played at the same time, so we don't play that chord, we just play the lower note. Okay, so just a reminder that we are working on page 36 of 50 Christmas Carols by Sylvia Woods. This is for the people in the live stream, in case you didn't get the memo. And you should have your pencil and mark these things in. Try it out on your harp if you have your harp with you, and then you can play it the same every time going forwards. That's going to make a big difference to your practice. You don't want to be playing different things every time. And measure numbers, it's 1, we wrote in the measures. So 1, 5, 9, 13, 17. That's what I'm referring to. Okay, so is there anyone making any questions or suggestions in the comments, Megan? Just checking in with my sister Megan here is helping me check the comments.
They were asking about which book it's from.
Okay, cool.
And
yeah.
I like your lights.
Oh, you like my lights? Thank you. I was hoping they wouldn't be too distracting, but I thought may as well put something festive on my harp. There's actually a link down in the description box if you want to try ordering some of these lights that are on my harp. They're actually just from Amazon and they're pretty cool. Just wrap them around the front here too. And they have all different, do you want to see it looking more funky? Oh, see.
Now you get back to
I can't even remember what version I had before. Okay, oh, is it too distracting if I do it like this? Maybe. Okay, we'll try this setting. Hopefully that's okay. It comes with a little remote and it's battery powered. Anyway, so this is what we have so far. So I wrote in my bracketing of the right hand, but I don't want to get into too much of that today. It's kind of probably hard for you to see what I'm doing with the with my pencil marks, but I suggest you make your own marks. I'm changing the fingering. I'm taking out some of the notes. I put little crosses on those notes. But when you are doing this, I think it's important that you make it really clear in your music what you want. Once you've tested this out on your own, you need to write it so that you're not going to get confused with what you're seeing and which notes you've decided to take out. So I would suggest making another copy of the page or printing out another copy of the page and then using whiteout, we call it Tipex, to take out the notes that you don't want and write in the version that you've decided on so that when you look at your music, you see exactly what you want to play and it's really clear. Okay, so what do you guys think so far of the simplifications that we've done? Mostly just taking out extra notes and making the fingering a little easier. Hope it's helping. Shall we move on to the next line?
Can I add a little bit about...
Okay, Megan wants to come and say something.
Hi, everyone.
So I don't even know what she's going to say. This is interesting.
Okay. So I'm popping in as a non-harpist and saying, I've been sitting there behind the camera feeling overwhelmed by everything that Christy Lynn's saying. She's just going, like, she knows so much about how to simplify things. And so she's just spouting all these words because once you're in the flow as a harpist, these are words that are familiar to you. But I just wanted to say, if you're a beginner, don't feel like you're less of a harpist because you're not thinking like Christy Lynn's brain thinks, because she's practiced for many years to be able to think like this and to be able to just say the words and just see which parts should be left out. So I just wanted to encourage you that you can watch this video a million times and you can pick out all the little bits of advice that Christy Lynn's giving you, so that you can also start to think like this, because that's our goal, is to equip you to be able to make these choices as well. So I just wanted to encourage you, don't feel overwhelmed if this is overwhelming.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Megs. Yeah, the point is to make this feel easier for you. So if me waffling on like this is not helping, or it's making you feel overwhelmed, then just get back to what you know. And another thing that you could do to really simplify it without getting too complicated is you see the guitar chords that are written above the music. That's so that other instruments can join you. And one idea on simplifying the left hand would be for you to just play the note that's mentioned in that chord with your left hand. There are places later on in the piece, like here, where I think that's too often to play a note. So you'd have to just pick one of them and cross out the others. But that might be a helpful way if you're first learning and you're even maybe struggling with reading sheet music a little bit. You could just pick from the chord names at the top. Play either just the simple note or a triad, simple triad, which means like the 3 notes. That's like a G chord, G, B, D. But that's if you have like a musical background where chords are something straightforward to you. Otherwise, I would say just play the single note that the chord is mentioning there. Okay, so let's look at the second line and see what we can change here and hopefully make it easy enough that you'll be able to play it very soon and just have fun with it instead of spending months and months practicing. Okay, so second line, again, we want to change the fingering in measure 5 to be 2-1 instead of 3. And I would play that second G with the second finger instead of the first finger. And then the left hand, it's the same as what we did in the first line. I would just play the bottom G. So we'd have... And then the next measure, now this is kind of getting into the realm of rearranging it completely. But do you see in measure 6, there's an E minor written above? I kind of think it would be nice if we played an E in the left hand there. It's not even in the music, but I think it'll sound nice. See what it sounds like. Now it sounds different to the first line. I think that sounds cool. And then I would definitely take out the last note in measure 6. We don't need those pickup notes. It's just kind of hard to get there on time, so we'll take it out. And now in the next measure, measure 7, so the right hand fingering is great, it's fine, but I would just play a single D in the bass for measure 7. And then right hand's great fingering there. I would just play a single A and then a D with the second finger. Now, normally when I'm simplifying, we were choosing the first note in the measure and then often the third note in the measure if the chord changes, just so that we can hear those changes happening. But in this case, instead of playing the first note, this is in measure 8, I didn't play a D and then leave out the A and then play the third D, the third note D. I played an A on the first beat, and that's because I want to hear that A chord. I want to hear that different note and then play the D. So just to clarify, I would play an A here instead of the D, and then I would play the D here and leave out this beat. Okay, so second line, what we have now is... What do you think? Is this helpful? Do you have any other ideas that I'm not mentioning? We have now done almost half the piece, and there's still quite a lot. There's quite a lot of repetition happening in this piece, so we're well on the way there. And hopefully, this is helping you to feel like you can achieve it in time for Christmas. And how wonderful will it be when you have your Christmas tree up? I think probably most of you don't have your Christmas tree up yet because you're not a crazy person who wants Christmas tree in the background of your videos and putting it up in November. But once you have your Christmas tree up, you can sit with your harp and maybe have lights on your harp or maybe not, and just play some beautiful Christmas tunes without having to stress too much about it or play something that feels so out of your comfort zone. And just enjoy playing more pieces because you don't have to spend so long practicing them. Okay. So Yakumin's saying, can you write down for me the measure 8, the bass note?
I'll write it in the
Okay,
text.
cool. Yeah, A and then D. And then based on this, can this be done with most sheet music? Yes, of course. So I have a little speech to say about that. I think that people treat sheet music too much like it is this untouchable, perfect thing that we cannot change. This is an arrangement written by somebody who is making suggestions. And if it's not helpful for you, then you have my permission to change it as much as you want. You're welcome to change my arrangements, my original pieces. Ultimately, sheet music is supposed to help you to play the harp. So if it's not helping you, then you need to change it because it wasn't necessarily written for you with your hands at this particular time with your skill level. And so you need to adapt it until it fits you perfectly. And you can decide, how complicated do I want to play for this piece? Do I want to spend months practicing and then play a more complicated version? That's a valid choice. But a lot of the time, I think we feel a bit more of a sense of accomplishment if we make it maybe a little simpler and don't have to spend quite so much time practicing it, especially when we're learning as adults and we want to have that result so you can play for fun on Christmas Day or whenever. Cool, so let's move on to measure 9. So I would play those repeating notes. They're not joined to anything. I would play it with my second finger, those Ds. And then 3, 1, 2. And then instead of playing 2, 3, 1, 2, 2, 3. That doesn't feel comfortable to me. You can try it on your harp, see what you think. But I would rather play 1, 2, 1, 2. So 2, 2, 2. I would actually do a 2 on the G. 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And that's because it was a fourth interval. Remember, a fourth interval is with the second finger normally. That feels way better to me. And then left hand, I would just play a single D for this entire measure. You don't have to play all those other notes. I mean, it sounds nice. But I don't think you would worry if instead you heard. Actually, it kind of gives you more space and it just feels like open and whatever. So what I did in the left hand there is I played the single D in measure 9 with the second finger. And then in measure 10, I played an A with my second finger. And then the D with my second finger. And I left out that G on the second beat. Okay, then I would do the exact same thing for the next 2 measures. Okay, good. Hope you're catching on. Make sure that you're writing these notes with your pencil and trying them out as we do it maybe and seeing if you agree with me because this is going to have to suit you. I'm just giving some suggestions. So measure 13. So I would play the second finger on D, on the first E. And then I think it's fine to do the fingering she has. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. That's fine. You can try other versions if you want to, but you can probably start to predict what I'm going to suggest now. I would, in measure 13, in the left hand, I would play the single C for the whole measure. And then for measure 14, just a single A for the whole measure with your second finger. The A. Okay. And now in measure 15, we have, as you can see, if you have a look at those chords above, we've got a G. Oh, is it a G? No, a D and then a G. And I want to hear that in the left hand. So I'm not going to do a single note for the whole measure. I'm going to play the first note and then the third note. So we get those chord changes, and I would do it with the second finger and then the first finger. So it would be F with the second finger and then G with the thumb. So instead of, just feels so much easier. So and then 3 3 2 1. That's okay fingering. Some people would do different, but let's not spend time on that. In measure 16, the left hand, she's got 1 2 3 on B A G. That feels quite nice to play. So if you want to put the work in, it is quite cool. But you could just do single G for the whole measure, or you could do the B and then the G with 1 and 2. So you have some options there. But if you're wanting to keep it as simple as possible, so you don't have to put a lot of practice time, just play a single G for that measure 16 in the left hand. Okay, so I'm going to play through that. So we're on the second last line now. This is quick, and hopefully you're following. Let us know in the comments if you have any questions. Seems like Yakumin's got her answer, which is great. And if you have any other suggestions.
Her question was just because of...
Yeah, she was unsure about the English vowels. So people in the comments helped. That's good. Okay, so second last line. This is what it will sound like once it's simplified. I played the wrong fingering in the right hand, but maybe I would do... add in that B, G for measure 16. It sounds nice to do that with 1 and 2. Oh, sorry, John says it's a little fast for me, but I can rewatch. Yeah, sorry about that. If I was doing this with a student and I could see what pace you're hearing all of this at and whether you're understanding, I would take it a bit slower. But hopefully you can even just pick up 1 or 2 ideas or the general concept, even if you don't manage to get everything I say about Hark the Herald, Angels Sing. Although you can rewatch this and hopefully get it that time. But the general concept is you don't have to play all the notes. Take out most of the notes in the left hand and no one will know, and it'll be so much easier and everyone will be happy. Okay, and that's just a general concept for whenever you're playing a tune that people recognize. You want to make sure you prioritize playing the right hand correctly, and then with the left hand, you just play as little as possible. John says, I'm glad I have freedom with sheet music. It's been taking me too long to learn. Okay, cool. Yep, here's the freedom. We're on the last line. Oh, I have good news. It's pretty much the same as the second last line. So measure 17 is going to be the same as measure 13. And then your single A with the second finger in the left hand, measure 18. And now we're going to still do our 2, 1, F, G in measure 19. So... And now you could do the same as what you did in measure 16 in the left hand. But it is quite nice to do something a little different and feel like you're ending it off. So I would, oh, and with the right hand there, we're on measure 20. So I would leave out the second note in those chords there in the right hand. Let me just indicate to show you. So we don't have to play the lower note in the chord there. The D there, or the, is that a B there? I can't really see because. So we can just play the top note, which is the melody, and then finger it in a way that is really comfortable. So I would do 2, 2, 1, 2. We don't have to have those other notes. And in the left hand, I would suggest on the first note of measure 20 to just play a D. I know the D is actually on the second beat, but we want to hear that chord change. It's the same as what we did in measure 8, where we just did the second beat, the note that was on the second beat, and then the note that was on the third beat. played on the first and third beat. I know it sounds complicated, but I'll show you what I mean. So instead of doing dum, 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 bum, 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 or bum, 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 which is actually what's written, instead we'll just do the D on the first beat and then the G on the third beat. So it will sound like this. Does that make sense? D, G with the second finger. So our last line will sound like this. Let me know if you have any questions or comments while I'm playing this last line through, and I'll check in with you. Okay. I don't think that sounds too simple. I think that sounds cool. The harp sounds so great when you just keep things clean and simple. For Christmas, I think that's the way to go, so that you can not be stressed and have it ready in time, and people will recognize the tune. That's if you're playing it for other people, and if you're playing it for your own enjoyment, that you can get it without too much stress and hard work. John says, I feel as though I can already play this. Thanks so much. That is the aim. I'm so glad. Thanks for telling me, John. That's awesome. Yeah, I wanted it to be so that it feels like you can just about play it perfectly already now. Depending on what your skill level is already, maybe you will need to put some concerted practice in, but now you might get it done in time for Christmas. Whereas if you had to do a more complicated arrangement, I think you may need a bit more time. So hopefully this has been good. Are there any other comments I should check in with, Megs, or?
Just people enjoying it.
Good. I'm so glad that you're all enjoying this. Thank you so much. Okay, Jennifer says, I have a harpsichord with no levers. I appreciate that you'll be posting a video on how I can tune my harp for an F sharp. I haven't actually, I'm not planning to do that before Christmas. So let me quickly show you a very short explanation of that. Okay. So if you have an F and you want to make it into an F sharp, you get your tuner there. Megan, can you come and help me? We have a little party trick about to happen. No, you can stand there and just hold this. Oh, let's make the screen darker.
Yeah.
Okay, can you guys see that? Okay, we have an F. We just tune it as if it's a flat note. My tuner will show an F sharp as a G flat, but yours might show it as an F sharp. Now I have an F sharp. It's the same as all my other F sharps. So you don't actually need levers on your harps unless you're doing lever changes in the piece. It just makes it easier to set the key in the beginning.
What's that called?
This app is called Pano Tuner, P-A-N-O, new word, tuner, T-U-N-E-R. And so you just do that on all your Fs and then you're sorted. Then you can play a piece in the key of G, even though your harp is tuned in C. Someone, a BD Newfound, said, your comments about feeling free to adjust the sheet music is spot on. When I am learning a harder piece, it is great to feel free to simplify some of it and then focus on a few harder measures as written. Yay! I'm so glad you agree. Wonderful. So Kathy says, how many strings of fairy lights do you have on your harp? That is a good question. Let me check. I think it's 3. It might be 4. Let me just check because I put the batteries in the bottom here. Oh, I can see the strings. Yeah, it's 3. And it comes, when you order a pack from that link I mentioned in the description box, it comes with 4 in the pack. So yeah. And then the 4th one is up on my angel. Wound around the angel at the top of my Christmas tree. Yep. So I think that's it for today. I'm just going to end off the video for those who aren't watching the live stream, and those who are watching the live stream, you can stick around if you want to. So thanks everybody for watching. That's it. That's how to simplify Hark the Herald Angels Sing. And now hopefully you can learn it quicker and you can apply this to other songs. And if you enjoyed it, make sure you subscribe and you must click that notification bell next to the subscribe button, because that will tell you when I go live like this, and then you can be part of the comments section and you can see people are having great fun chatting to each other. So make sure you have that bell notifications turned on, and then I'll see you in the next video, or maybe even the next live stream. Okay, so that is the end of the official part of the video, but does anyone have anything else they want me to talk about? Because I'm here. May as well keep chatting to you.
That's an interesting idea.
Rebecca Jackson is one of the people I met when I was in the US. She says, I've taken a simple version of a song from this book, and the harder version, even though I couldn't.
The harder ending. Puts it with the harder ending.
Oh, yes. Okay. That is something else I was thinking about mentioning in this live stream, but I didn't, is that if you want to play the simpler version, but you feel like it just needs a special something, you can look at the harder version. Did I say easier version?
That's right.
If you want to play the easier version, you can look at the harder version for ideas and then maybe add one or two things from there just to make it extra snazzy without having to play the whole harder arrangement. So yeah, I just think the harder version. I normally say if I can't sight read something properly, then probably it's not worth learning for a beginner, because you have to put so much practice in. So yeah, but maybe you would want to. Oh, because my sight reading is very good. And I don't know about you guys, but if you ask me, I don't think that sounds better than what we were doing earlier. I like it sounding simple. I think it sounds more peaceful. And I'd rather hear a harpist playing that, to be honest. And so this is what I find with my students, is that especially when somebody has played other musical instruments and you really want to be proper and you want to work hard and do everything correctly, you put pressure on yourself to play a harder version just because it's there, but it's not better. Many of the pieces in this book, the easier version actually sounds better. So don't have that prideful thing where you're like, oh, but I can play the harder version. No, just play the simpler version. It sounds really nice, and you'll save yourself a lot of hard work and effort that you don't have to put in. Would you please repeat your interval suggestions? Yes, I would. I will. So I'm going to play it the other way now. Am I? No, I'll still go down from G since we're in the key of G. So if you play a single note, I'd play it with your second finger. If you're going to play a second interval, so 2 notes next to each other, I would play that with the second finger. Or it doesn't have to be playing them together. It could be, or either way, it's a second interval. The third interval, where there's 1 note that you skip, I would play that with the second finger.
Interval of a third, right? Not the third as in it comes after.
Oh, no. It's like a third.
Yes.
That's what the interval is called, a third. Yeah. Because 1, 2, 3. And then the fourth interval, I would play with the second finger as well. So 2, 3, and 4 are with the second finger. A fifth is with the third finger, fifth interval. A sixth is also with the third finger. A seventh is with the fourth finger, and anything bigger is also with the fourth finger. Unless you have a really spunky pinky that suddenly just pitches in. No, that doesn't happen. Not normally anyway. Is there anyone here who plays with their pinky ever? The other day I was trying to play a chord with 5 notes and I just used my pinky. And then I felt very silly because my pinky is so skinny. Like, I have very small hands and I have a very skinny pinky, so it's a good thing harpists don't use it because I wouldn't be able to. Yeah, I want to show you.
And so if someone had bigger hands, would they still be using the same interval suggestions?
Yeah, I mean, there's reasons behind those fingering suggestions for the different intervals isn't just because of the size of your hand and the size of the notes. It's also because it incorporates ideas. It allows for what notes you might have in between. So that's why a fourth interval, we don't often have a note in between. Whereas a fifth interval, you'd play with your third finger, because we often would play a triad, where you use the second finger to play the note in between. So even if you can play a fifth interval with 1 and 2, you want to train your third finger to play that bottom note so that you can use your second finger for the note in between when you have a triad. Fourth finger there. Fourth finger again, because we want to be able to play a full arpeggio, and you need 3 and 2 for that. So even if you can play an octave with the third finger, I wouldn't, because you want those other fingers to be ready in between just in case they need to play. And I want to do one more quick demonstration of how I think that that you should really consider doing the easier version and even simplifying it. Listen to how much cooler the simpler version of What Child Is This sounds. Okay, I'm going to first play the harder version, and I think it sounds a little bit too much, a little bit too grand for something that's supposed to be just simple and beautiful. Okay, to me that sounds a little bit frantic. Maybe it's because I'm sight reading, but I don't think it is. There's too many notes, I think. Listen to this. Sounds better. What do you think? Do you agree with me? Or is it just that I have very simple taste in life in general? Because that is also true. But yeah, that's why when my students come and say, I'm going to play the harder version, I'm like, are you sure? Are you sure though? Because the easier version's better. Someone says, RC says, I agree. Simple sounds peaceful and beautiful. You are a great teacher. Oh, it's Ruthie from Oregon. Yay. Hi, Ruthie. Yumiko says, easier version is better. This idea makes me happy. And Tanya Rose, I like the simpler version too. I actually much prefer the sound of the simpler version. That's Renee. Oh, is Renee from Georgia?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. Low Country Hooper.
So that's Helen.
Helen, yeah. She says, I like the simple version better too. I rearrange most sheet music I play from. It allows me to work around my finger mobility issues. Yeah, that's the other reason why I always say fingering is a suggestion, because some people's hands are different. You might have finger mobility issues. You may have arthritis. You may just have hands that want to be in a certain shape because they've been in that shape your whole life, and you don't want to fight that battle of changing that. But yeah. Rebecca says, I prefer the simple version of all the songs in this book, except I love the hard version of Jingle Bells. I've performed from this book for many years. Oh, that's cool. Now I'm like, I don't know if you guys are still happy being here with me, but I'm having fun. So why don't we see if we all agree with Rebecca Jackson. Are you still happy here, Megs?
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to check if Rebecca Jackson, if we agree with her about the Jingle Bells version. Harder version. Okay, so this is the easier version. Okay, so that's the easier version. Let's see what the harder version is like. This is going to test my sight reading a little bit more. I think I have sight read through all the books and the pieces in this book already, but I've mostly been teaching the easier pieces because that's how I roll. So, yeah, anyway. Oops. Have to agree to disagree, Rebecca. I think that it sounds cool, but I'm just too much of a teacher at heart, and I just know how much practice people who are learning the harp as an adult have to put in to be able to play some of those left-hand patterns while playing the right hand. And so there's something in me that's just like, no, don't do it. The easy version is fine.
But I did like the beginning of the harder version. It had nice rhythm to it.
Oops.
Yeah.
That.
Are you playing the harder one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's very nice. It's very nice, but I would still encourage all my students to play the simpler version. It sounds so pretty.
Remo prescribes that he suggests the simple version of the first verse and a more complicated version onward.
See, we don't need more than this in life, guys. I think people just like to punish themselves. This is maybe similar to why I don't understand why people go on a run when they could walk. I'm like, walking is good exercise. Why would you run? It's just like willful torture. So that's how I feel about playing the harp. Okay, Wayne Gaither says, I have a hard time reading more than one staff at a time, so I have to memorize the music. Do you have any tips on learning to read two staves? Tips on learning to read two staves. Does anyone in the comments have a tip for Wayne? My comment or my suggestion with sheet music in general is, and maybe this is why you're struggling to read two staves, is to not look at the note and say the letter name to yourself and then try and find that note, that letter name on the harp. So jingle bells, D, oh, here's a D. B, oh, here's a B. Oh, okay, now that's an A, here's an A. So that's not how I read sheet music. I read sheet music by looking at the spaces between the notes and connecting that to how far apart the strings are on the harp. So I'm not thinking of the names of the notes while I'm playing. I'm just looking, oh, it goes up this much, and now it goes down, and then it goes down to there. And I've just got a connection between what I see and what I play. And so starting to see the notes as groups of notes and how they compare to each other, rather than thinking about the note names. That would be my suggestion. And I'm still figuring out how to help people with that because I don't really know how I taught myself to do that. So I'll get back to you when I have more advice on how to actually learn how to do that, because I'm trying to figure it out, because there's so many people who struggle to read sheet music, and I really want to help those people to be able to read it without stressing too much. So Tanya says, any suggestion on how to time the left hand with the right? Any suggestion on how to time the left hand with the right? So maybe you can tell me, Tanya, a little bit more about what you're struggling with, because I'm not really sure exactly what you mean. Let me go back to Hark the Herald Angels Sing. Are you meaning like knowing when to play the left hand? Because I would just figure that out by playing each beat of the piece really slowly. So, okay, now my left hand has to play and my right hand. And now there's another note there. And now I have to play them together. So I would just take it note by note really slowly to figure out when to play the left hand. Yeah, I'm not really sure if that's what you mean, though. Maybe you can tell us in the comments. Other than that, it can be helpful sometimes to maybe record yourself playing the right hand, like on a little voice recorder on your phone, and then play the left hand along with that, so that you can practice the timing without having to play both hands together. That could help with a rhythm challenge. Cool. Okay, let's see if Tanya replies. Otherwise, Jenny Lyra says, do you have any tips for adults learning music for the first time? I think that's going to come soon. So probably what I already said.
Meaning only sheet music. She was meaning
learning music for learning music for the first time. Yeah.
There's lots in the YouTube videos.
Yeah, I think just have fun with it and balance out just playing with your harp. Playing not just as in plucking the strings, but like having fun and experimenting. And yeah, if you're learning something that's difficult for you, always make sure you're also playing something fun and easy on the side so that it always stays fun. Or have little patterns of things that you like to play, like, and then you can try. Just playing around with your harp. However, just for fun in between, so that it's still, you remind yourself that this is for fun. And be patient with yourself, because sometimes these things take longer than you think. And enjoy the process, because I'm sure today you can play more than you could a year ago, and that in itself is a great achievement, to just keep on working on it and allowing yourself the process, being kind to yourself. John says, in my life, just playing the harp is impressive, no matter how simple. Yes, and most audiences would feel the same, even if you are playing for other people. And if you're playing for yourself, it's better for it to be relaxing, and often simple is the way. Kathy says, this has been so helpful to me. As a trained musician, I felt I should be able to play the music that I'm able to read easily. But now I will give myself permission to keep it simple, stupid. Kiss. Yes, there's no shame in playing simpler. I do it all the time. Cynthia says, also keep loose, because you can tense up, which affects playing, even if you don't realize it. Focusing more on figuring it out than comfortably playing. Oh, so if you're focusing too much on the notes and you're not aware of what your body is doing, then you can end up kind of injuring yourself or becoming really uncomfortable. So check in with your body now and then. Do some stretching and some breathing. Make sure your head is upright, that your shoulders are down. Those are two common problems. Janet says, I think using hand shapes helps greatly, because you only have to determine the starting note. Yes. With time, the hand shapes become recognizable on the sheet music. So I think Janet's talking about things like maybe naming the shapes. Different people do that often in like Celtic music. Like I know Carol Kappas talks about like the teacup, or the I think the teacup, I can't remember. I'm trying to remember the names of the notes, but different groupings of finger notes, finger shapes, like that would be called something. And whenever you see it in the music, even if it's here, the groupings of intervals might have different names. It's like, crab, teacup, like snowman, all different names that people give it. So that's something that you might consider. Okay, cool. Well, I think it's been so great to have you all in the comments and helping each other, answering each other's questions. Do you think we must do this again sometime? I think so. And I love helping to simplify things. So if this is something that you'd like me to do again with another piece, I could even maybe do it with another Christmas piece, but certainly I could do it with another.
You are doing it again tonight.
Oh, yes, that's true. I'm actually doing this again tonight. With my virtual harp circle. And the cool thing about that is that it's not only me giving suggestions, because we have like a video hangout. So we see all the people's faces, not just mine, and we all discuss it, and you get to try it and ask me questions. So if that's something you'd like to try and you've never tried virtual harp circle, there's still time. It's going to be in, what's the time? 6 o'clock. It's going to be at 11. So 4.5 hours from now, you could try that. And we'd be very happy to have you. Oh, Cynthia says, and I will be there. Virtual Harp Circle is fun. Yes, you get to meet harpists all around the world and chat to them about, today will be about simplifying a Christmas song. We're going to be doing Away in a Manger from this book, the first version of Away in a Manger. And so we'll make that one easy for you too. But I can also do this again sometime in a live stream.
Just clarify how they're doing the Virtual Harp Circle.
So that's through my Patreon. So there should be a link down in the description box where it talks about Patreon. And there's a level on Patreon where you like pay a subscription amount, and you can join a hangout where it's like a live video chat with harpists every month. And it's so much fun. We share a lot of ideas and things, but this wasn't meant to be an advert for that. I just thought you might want to join us later today. Oh, Tiffany's here. Yay. She says, search for Carol Kappas Magic Hands on YouTube. Yes, that's really good. All the yeses. Is that for doing this again sometime? Yes. We totally should. I think that'll be great. I miss doing this. I used to do the live concerts, which I'm not doing at the moment, but no reason why we can't chat and simplify some more pieces, because I love to do that. It's easy for me, and hopefully it's helpful for you. Cool. Okay, so I think I'm going to go. Those of you who are in the virtual harp circle, I'll see you in 4.5 hours. And there's still time to join if you'd like to be with us. No, I don't have a Christmas album, Ramil. Sorry about that. Maybe one day. And yeah, I'll see you all next time. If you only managed to join half of this, make sure that you've clicked that bell, turn on the notifications next to the subscribe button so that you're notified when I go live again. And do you want to come say bye, Megan?
Okay. Bye, everyone. It was nice to see you. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Yeah, thanks for hanging out. You can see it's getting darker here. You can see my lights better than in the beginning. Okay. Yeah, Rimmel says, later, nerds. Wow, you are way cooler than me. Okay. Bye, everyone.